What's going on today?
All right. Thank you, Scott. Hey, Andy, how's it going?
Hey, Steve. Hello, Scott. Hi, my friends.
All right.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to another trade of the week. Steve and Andy with you here. We'll just get going through the slides quickly and then we'll get into it. Just a reminder, we trade our own accounts. We also work at Trade Ideas, but Trade Ideas itself is a software as a subscription company. And we're going to talk about a few stocks and charts, but none of it is to be construed as financial advice. You don't want to do that. You want to seek the professional people who charge you a fee. Now, just a reminder that we've got a lot of opportunity to pull up a chair and get familiar with the program and help shorten your learning curve. Primarily Barry's room every single day. No question is really left unanswered. He's very generous with his time, and there's a good group of traders in there as well that are good kind of pack hunters as day traders. So you can pull up a chair anytime during the day. It's free, and get information that you need. Otherwise, we give Barry a break each day at noon. One of the 5 or 6 of us will come in and kind of give a different perspective on things and help you with trade ideas, questions, or whatever you guys want to talk about. But we try to make ourselves available, and we're always there. So please remember that this is available to you. And the link on the next screen here will show you the bottom, trade-ideas.com/live as a redirect to get you to the live stream, and then YouTube will remember who you are and that you like that. All right, so hang on one second. All right, sorry about that. Man and machine combined, just our regular little theme slide here before we enter the webinar. Just a reminder that it's very difficult to be these days successful as just a human with no help. But when you've got a machine or technology to help you, the two of us working together are really the way to go. Especially Trade Ideas specializes in serving up real ideas in real time for opportunity. And then from there, you are a better manager of the trades for sure, as things change in real time and nuances change. All right, so the agenda for today, typical as usual. I'll go over the market recap here in a moment. Andy has some thoughts on AI recap. We'll look at the trade of the week. And then we've got a new scan, not a new scan, we're gonna pull up an old scan, but try and really tie it all together as to why it's necessary right now to try and shift gears a little bit. All right, so let me get my chart up here with the proper moving averages and such. Stretch it out here a little bit. All right, so S&P, you know, there's really no case to be short, as I like to say sometimes, but we're up here in thin air for sure. And we've had, 2 or 3 days of pretty good run, gap and run, and nowhere really to go today. It's just kind of a pause holding pattern. And I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a couple more of these or just a little bit more, until the moving averages come up to catch it. That's just the way things have been going. It's just a matter of really how deep is that pullback or consolidation going to go sideways. But along the way here, there were a few periods, a moment, where you guys, when we were talking here in the market recap, where I was in extreme defensive mode. And I think, these 3 periods, I was saying, hey, I don't see any reason to really be long right now. So I'm pulling a lot of longs off and I'm sitting in a lot of cash and maybe a couple of hedging ETFs here and there. But, once they started to work, they quickly reversed on me and I got out and I said, all right, got to stay long and look for the setups again, once again. But each time this happens, as we come out of these movements, it seems like the individual names just don't want to really follow what we've had going here in the general bigger picture. And I'm not just saying that for myself. Andy will certainly corroborate that, and a lot of the other guys here on the swing trading accounts, we've been saying the same things. Market's up 1.5%, 2% today, and my stocks are down 2%. What the hell's going on? So something is levitating these indexes higher, but the leader right now continues to be the S&P, and of course the Dow as well. Again, up here in clean air, no reason to be short. But the interesting thing was last week when we spoke, the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000, we'll look at in a second, were both still under pressure. Many rejection wicks here in the NASDAQ and the Qs at that 50-period moving average, which I often consider the general health of a stock or an index in this case. And back then, 2 weeks ago, it was still a little under pressure. And I used the word, or Brian Shannon's word, guilty until proven innocent. Well, it proved to us it was innocent. And you can't stick no charges on the NASDAQ either, because I said once we start to see a close above that area that had been defended so hard, there it was right there. If you were short and you were waiting for tech stocks to roll over, that really was your cue to start getting out and protecting what you can, because you can just see the follow through here. So there is no laggards anymore like there was in the last couple of weeks. Everything seems to be just finding a way higher. And technology was really kind of in the back seat, and it found a way to recover as well. And the Russell 2000, I'm gonna go back a couple of days, is what it looked like, a couple of days ago. And I said the same thing, these small cap stocks, everything that was so easy in November, December, and small cap runs and the momentum runs, the EV stuff was just crazy. But now we're on the underside of health here. Odds would favor it might not do it, but wouldn't you know it, this market just finds a way. We're back closing above these moving averages. So there's really nothing that you can point your finger at this point that's lagging for the most part. Some interesting notes, some of the gold miners were kind of popping up again today. One of the things I'm watching, and Andy's watching too, are the interest rates. And there's 2 ETFs you can use for that. This first one is the 20-year Treasury bond. And what I see coming up here would be a pretty good pivot level, something like that. So if we start to close above that orange line again, well, maybe the interest rate rise that people are talking about is not going to happen. You can also look at the IEF, and this is much more of a downtrend, having a difficult time as well. This is the 7 and 10 year. This is really where all the mortgages are based off of. So if you're out there waiting to refinance or looking for a mortgage, and you see this ETF start to get down here in this level, chances are you're going to start reading headlines again about interest rates. So just a little side adjunct there, because everything else here in the ETF land for the indexes is just telling you there's no reason not to be long and there's no reason to be short. It's just a matter of what you're going to pick. And we'll talk about that coming up when we get into the rotational type stuff. Anything you want to add, Andy?
No, you hit it pretty good. There's not a whole lot to add when you have a market like this where there's really nothing really to dissect as far as might there be a bear case? No, not really. There's Steve drawing the channel. That's definitely something to keep an eye on, and we're gonna have it stay in the channel. We're possibly do a pullback, but we'll
I
see what
think I got
happens.
a direct message from a trader today that said, I knew I shouldn't have bought something today.
Yeah, I know. Luckily, it was only one position, so I'm only in two positions. But yeah, I did not like. Yeah, I was mad that I bought this. I'm still in it. I like the reason that I bought it, but kind of failed me.
So
Okay.
buying up here, yeah, I mean, you don't want to load the boat up here at these levels and
No,
channel. So if you like something here, dip your toe in, but maybe wait for that or whatever is coming around the
sideways,
corner. I don't know.
pullback.
Sideways would be the best. All right, well, that's all I've got there. Let me pass it over to Andy. You can
All
go ahead
right.
and,
Let me grab it.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Not a whole lot to talk about today as far as Holly goes. So once again, Holly, this is what she kind of had to work with today, and the spies pretty much a small, gap down, and then a lot of back and forth action. It really didn't go anywhere, and you can see basically finished flat on the day. Uh, very few trades. You only had a total of 7 trades today in the Holly AI, and really it was only 5 trades because we had, well, no, it was 6 trades because Steve, I'm kind of embarrassed to show this, but we actually had a long and a short in the same position. So that's kind of, I don't know. No, I don't care for that, but it is what it is. It's just the algo calling what it is. And look at this mess on this chart, because really it did a whole lot of nothing. Opened up and pretty much just kind of went sideways all day. So for some reason, the algos triggered both a long and a short off this one, and really nothing. It didn't do anything in either direction. So, and we also had a double call in AVTR. Okay, so we had this came out from 2 different algos. Nice chart, and got dough wants to go. And boy, I tell you, just looking at the market, just not a whole lot happening today. You get that on days sometimes when you just don't get any direction in the market. Snap, I thought, had a little bit of potential. I'd like to buy, but you know, bought down here at the bottom on a algo called looking for a bounce. So this is the kind of stuff that I do like to see in a market like this, kind of contrarian play. Coming down here, you see the support from the open right there, and you got the signal, and really a no pain trade. That wasn't bad at all. You got 85 cents out of that if you would have, you know, basically held on to the last 5 minutes of the day, or maybe it's the last 15 minutes. And also, nice chart was called in this same symbol. Whoa, whoa, did I have on the wrong? Oh gosh, what did I have on? Good
I don't know,
Lord,
Steve.
that
What did
wasn't
you do?
even the same. Uh, oh, I had on Snap. I'm sorry, that was Snap earlier I was looking at. This Avatar, which it was really Avantar, uh, different, a little bit different chart. Obviously, this was more of a momentum play versus a contrarian kind of bounce play. Two signals there. You see them both, buy and a buy, and both of them worked out pretty good. Not a whole lot of upside, but no pain nonetheless. It never came back anywhere near the entry. So all in all, you know, it's a decent day. It's okay. These muds, I thought this was one you should have on your radar. I need to ask Michael about the stop on this one. It was only like a 5 cent stop, which should not be the case in a stock that gaps up. You know, the percentage that this gapped up, 15, 6, you know, 16%. So I'm not sure what went on there, but the whole idea for these signals, you know, for a lot of traders, just to give you ideas. And this is one that if you'd have kept your eye on, this is one that, you know, would have, you know, maybe just put an alert somewhere around the range breakout, excluding that wick this morning, and it gave you a nice little trade there in mud. But other than that, yeah, I do like the fact that it's kind of a sloppy market and not a whole lot of trades firing off. I do like seeing that, but and there was a little opportunity there. If you take away this Kara long and short call, I'm not sure what that was all about, but anyway, that's what the algo saw. But other than that, Steve, I'm going to shoot it back to you because that's about it.
All right, that's not a problem. Light day, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before we get to this week's trade of the week, let's have a little fun at Andy and Steve's expense, and Chris Farley's expense, and Jamie's expense. um, you know, let's go back in the time machine a little bit there. All right, so you know, last week we were looking. Of course, it's gonna freeze up on me. Last week we were looking at a pretty nice little flagging pattern in box, just going back and forth, sideways action, which was the official trade of the week. There we go. And we had that, you know, really going into Wednesday, I think was that look. And I said, boy, you know, this is trade management here. Okay, that was already set up, and then that was our test. All right, so we had 3 tests there, and we were definitely long the trade of the week box at this point last week. And I always like to see it touch at least once. And again, it gave us 3 touches of that moving average, the 10-day moving average. Really expected this to go. And now in the back of our minds as traders, we all want to avoid pain, of course. And we've been talking literally, as I said, weeks on end now. Why are my stocks just soft? Why are they not following through when this market keeps going to highs? And a lot of these setups just aren't working as well as they did back in November and December. We all remember, I mean, this market was just buy the momentum, look for consolidation and go. And it made it really seem easy. There were some really good picks, but I mean, there's been some soft picks for the last month. And so that being in the back of my mind, and also telling you guys about my rule that I like to follow, which is once a stock closes, emphasis on closes below the 10-day moving average. In this case, it was actually the risk parameter that we called out in the trade plan of last week on this was to go ahead and ditch it because we don't want to stick around for all the way drop down to this red line, the backstop of the 20-day moving average. So why stick around for that? You know, if things aren't working, be very defensive. And so that was technically by a few cents a close. And again, I was running out of patience on this, and I think a lot of the other guys did too. So we got out, and the gods of the trading world just have a funny sense of humor to where by Friday we were all just looking at each other, kind of shaking our head. I mean, that was just close enough for government work, but we were all just so skittish about, these things that did fail and did find that backstop below. Well, in this case, it really didn't, and it got one more day today, yesterday, excuse me, there. So if you're still in this trade, bravo. It's still above that moving average if you don't count that day where I got out, and it still could go. But I tell you, you're probably going to wait for some more consolidation after a couple of green days there. All right, so that was last week. Coming into this week, honestly, I really didn't see a whole lot of scans. And again, this is kind of the content for today. I don't really trust a lot of the setups that were working with those sideways actions after a move and then asking it to do it a second or third time. It feels like the market was just running out of steam, running out of air. The air is getting thin up here. And so these individual names are kind of, showing the real true colors. So Regions Financial is the name of the stock. And this was literally kind of more of a group effort because I didn't really see much that I liked, and talked to some of the guys over the weekend, and we all kind of agreed that regional banks were looking really interesting, and a lot of the names that were coming up. I think when we even looked at the sectors last week, we talked about how the strength of the regional banks were holding up. And let's backwards into the market recap. If interest rates if this TLT rolls over and IEF roll over and interest rates start to tick up, some of these financial institutions might be okay with that, and that might be showing up. So the other point I want to make on this one is it doesn't look as clean as a lot of the other ones that we had, but Andy pointed out Regions Financial compared to some of the other ones has a real nice cash balance sheet. There was a lot of good stuff on the single stock window, but I'm just going to draw like those simple crude lines that you always see traders talk. I mean, that's kind of what I see. And in that respect, our timing might not be perfect here. Because yes, it did trigger yesterday, and let's talk about that in a second, but this is the bigger picture that we're looking for here. And as long as it holds up to what it gave us in the past, it showed us in the past that the 50-day moving average seems to be where the buyers are going to step in. Well, we're going to let this thing work for us a little bit. Somebody asked me today, well, why wouldn't we just use what we've been using before, Steve, the 10-period moving average there? Well, I just think that's really too tight in this case. I think you just need to kind of downsize your shares and look at this for the bigger move that might be coming. So this might not be one that's going to work this week necessarily. It might just ideally kind of do some of this, and then before you know it, the financials are going to be in the news. Maybe interest rates pop up, and before you know it, all of these wedges that are appearing in these financials and these regional banks will resolve themselves. So we're really kind of just picking a side here, hoping that anticipating that this movement will continue higher when the time is right. But it's not really a perfectly timed trade in that respect. Okay, the entry, another week where we had the entry at let me do this real quick. Let me grab this and put that. And this way I mirror a lot of my trades. There we go. So the entry was literally pretty much right around there. I think the stock opened up way up here, traded up as high as here, and then all the way back down. Well, let me just point something out. When we get a gap up like that, there's a couple different ways. When we call a trigger to come up from underneath and push up through it, that's what I want to see. I want to see the price move up, and that's our trigger. When the stock gaps up like this, I went ahead and I bought the trigger just to be disciplined, but I kind of kicked myself because I thought, actually, let's use the reverse wheel here and see if we can get a better understanding. I thought, I bought it there because that was our trigger from the underside. Looking back on these candles, pushing up through there would be a nice momentum push, but we gapped up and then sold off. Well, doesn't matter. I still bought it there, but kind of wish I just waited for what I normally have been talking about with you guys week after week. The gap into that moving average right there, and that probably would have been a little better place. So I wouldn't blame you if you let it do that. I kind of wish I would have got a little better price. But then we've just been going sideways, as I said. I do want to point out, though, this 5-day moving average is on my 15-minute chart. It's giving us very nice confirmation that still healthy, relatively healthy for the most part. So we're positioned, we're biding our time. We're just waiting for maybe a nice headline to boost these financials and get them going. Anything you want to add on the trade of the week?
No, except I don't think you bought it up there, Steve. I'm pretty sure you waited for the pullback on that one, but
No, I
I can.
didn't. I'm pretty sure that I bought it there. I might have bought it in the other
Oh, okay.
account
So
a
you
little
didn't
bit
chase the
later.
open though. Okay.
I did. Yeah, I didn't chase the open, but I let it
Okay.
come back.
Okay.
And what I'm
Right.
saying is on the drop down, go ahead and disregard that trigger on the drop down because as I said earlier, guys, as man and machine, right? The human being understands there's more dynamics to this open here. It's kind of a different open now. And maybe we could get a little better price if we just kind of do what we see price action do week after week in many stocks, catch that moving average on the gap fill, and you can get a little better entry. But I jumped the gun a little bit. I know what you're talking about in the other
Mhm.
account, Andy. I think I
Right.
bought it down more
Yeah.
like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
more of a gap fill, which is another spot to look at it, the actual gap fill. I think that's actually where I was kicking myself for at least not waiting for the gap fill. Anyway, all right, so that's really the commentary on this week. So next week, I'm not going to go to the A table. I'm not trusting it because we've talked about this rotation in the market, and if there is rotation in the market, we're going to have to rotate our way of finding stocks and play into the hand of rotation, meaning strong stocks that have pulled back and have seemed to have found a base and might be moving back up. Some real saucer bottom type stuff. One that comes to mind, and I think it's actually on the scan that we're going to look at, is everybody's favorite Peloton, the darling of the COVID, given back a lot since being up here, but really, really having a nice rounded bottom there. So let me introduce then Andy's scan that he made a while ago, and we're going to just kind of pull it out of the locker here. Where'd it go? Revenue fishing. Revenue fishing. Why can't I find it? There it is. Revenue growth fishing. So this is a scan that Andy made. Let's first always, it's a top list window, meaning it's just a list of ideas, updating every 30 seconds. But what did he configure here? So here's our filter set. All right, so anything above 5, you could put a cap on it if you don't want to see Peloton type stocks. Average daily volume is 500,000 shares a day. And then let's hide the unused and see, this is where it gets interesting. So the position and range filter we talk a lot about is a very solid, very cool filter because you can group different time frames and see where you want the price to be in those time frames. So in this case, maximum 30%, that makes sense for Peloton. In the 3-month range, it's definitely not more than in 30% off the lows of that 3-month low. So that kind of keeps us only focused on stocks that might look similar to Peloton. Revenue growth, got to have at least a 17% revenue growth. So you're a solid company. You're probably just suffering a cyclical pullback in the cycle of the way price action moves, and it might be setting up for a nice rotation, as we were trying to circle back to rotation into things that might make sense that the big guys are looking at. And then lastly, position in the 10-day range. This is key. Now we're only looking back 10 days, and we're saying we want to be in the 70th percentile or above, no more than 70% above the lows, all the way up to a 10-day high. We'll take that, and so things might be heating up. So it kind of gives us, as I said, that look right there. My machine is freaking out. I'm going to close this. Close that. All right. I'm going to close that too. So as we go through the scan, I'm going to start with something that actually is not on the scan. I'm going to also give Andy credit for this. He got me into an electric vehicle play, and I know there's class action suits, but the chart tells me the story, not what people think. So the chart told me it had a nice little bottoming skip down here, and here's a new term I want to introduce. So when I look at a chart like this, it's definitely early. Andy saw something that kind of caught my eye too, and it's definitely early, but it might be basing out. And when we take these types of entries, we're not buying into a downtrend. We're to hope and hold on to new lows. We're going to cut these extremely quick if they don't do what we want to do, what we want to see, and that's what I'm going to talk about. What I see when I look at a chart like this is a very clean, it's like a flipped upside down what we were talking about on the A table, right? Whoosh down, sideways action, catches the 10-day, whoosh down. We were making the money on the upside doing the same thing, right? We're just flipping this upside down, but at some point, it's not working anymore and it's starting to bleed through. So just kind of when I looked at a chart like this, it made me think like, in your lane, all the way down here, ride stayed in its own lane, but all of a sudden, looks like it's wanting to change lanes here a little bit. And that's kind of what this revenue growth fishing chart reminded me of. And I think these could be some really interesting alerts that we can look at and find some stocks that are kind of changing in their own lanes. Actually, I wrote a few down, but we'll go through this scan in a second here. Like Ride was one. Oh, Naya was another one. So here we're getting, sector parity. It just was getting beat up by that 20, and all of a sudden, boom, it's now 3 days. It's kind of in a new lane. It's moving over into, trying to move over into a different lane. I like to use visuals. Can we get a copy of that chart? Do you mean, Vincent, do you mean the chart daily or the 15-minute? I can give you a copy of those, but I will give out a copy of the scan. I think you might mean the scan. We'll certainly give you a copy of that. So that one, I think Maya was actually on here, wasn't it, at one time? No, maybe not. But let me just go through some stocks that I wrote down, and I think a lot of them were on here. Peloton, kind of changing lanes down here. It's been under pressure. Now it's bleeding back through its moving averages and getting into that, bird in the hand kind of a look where now the moving averages are no longer repressing it, they're now supporting it. And these are all quality stocks that are going to be on here because of the revenue growth that Andy's got on there. The market's missing something. These things are growing in their revenue, but they've just suffered a pretty good sell-off. OCFT, kind of changing lanes. It's been under pressure on that 10-day moving average, and all of a sudden it's fighting its way back through. So I think we can kind of exploit, this type of setup and start looking for these types of setups and create a price alert and see if we like something. So let me just look at a couple more. Yeah, by the way, this one, gosh, I wanted to buy this one today. Matter of fact, that's kind of a funny story. That price alert was to alert me. I didn't want to chase it up here, and I thought if this thing comes back to that level at any point, I want it, and it never did. But nonetheless, I think it was on that scan as well. All right, so let's go through here one by one, and I want to set some price alerts, and then I can give those out as well. Oops, I'm sorry. There we go. Let's get rid of all these, clean them out, start from scratch, and go through one by one. And if you see something you like, Andy, of course, let me know.
Okay.
Clear the slates. We're going to start at the revenue. Where did it go? Revenue growth. It looks like we've got that many. All right. Well, let me bring up the single stock window so we can see that as well. And I might even bring up the intraday. All right. That one's not really singing to me. Peloton, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a Chinese play anyway. If you're so
not really
old, yeah,
trusting that. And I'm locked up again here, so give me a second. I will go to Peloton next because I think I want to mark that one up. I do like this. All right, and let's just put it right there. Maybe even adjust it a little bit. Yeah, I'll leave it right there. Hang on one second. All right. So that one's marked up. Okay. Zillow, huh? Zillow Group. Well, interesting, but I'm not going to mark that one up. That's also Zillow Group. Zoom out a little bit more on some of these. That Coop. I kind of like that one. I look at that. What's that?
No. Can I add something real quick?
Yes, please.
What Steve's doing is marking these up is very important because if not, here's one got me today because I was watching Roku. Roku was in here yesterday. And if you pull it up, Steve, you're going to see if you don't mark these up, next thing you're going to do, you're going to look up and you're going to miss them. And look at that beautiful move it had today. Of course, once it gets out of that lower band, the 33-month range, it's not in there anymore. So this is very important what Steve's doing. If you see these things, use those price alerts and mark them up. So you'll be,
That's probably where you were thinking about marking it up, and it would have been nice to get that nudge, wouldn't it?
Exactly. It sure would have, and I didn't.
All right. Let's go through a few more, and I like that one. I like the flattening. I like the double bottom base there. Yeah, I like this one a lot. And then the real tight range here over the last couple of days, under $100. I like that one. Mm, I like this one. But a couple of these are, they're higher price, but it doesn't matter. The whole point here is to try and just kind of imprint on what some of these reversals might look like. If I can get a few days like this going sideways, that's what I really like. And I also like this little second test right here. It tested that low from back there, didn't stay there very long, and now we've changed lanes to coin my new phrase, 3 days in the new lane here, and I like this one. I'm going to mark that one up with just kind of a thumbnail. Nothing super special on that one. And I'm kind of thinking, guys, this is where the genesis is going to come next week for our next trade of the week, because these are the ones that I feel like are not going to fail us. If they don't, Box didn't fail us. It just took a little bit longer than we thought, but some of the other past ones haven't really been the way I want. The reason I don't like this one is because it's below its 50-day moving average. That's just, again, like I said, a simple barometer. That one's being rejected by the 50-day. And for whatever reason, whatever this is being sorted by, change from the close. Okay, so these are going to the bottom of the barrel, a change of the close today. So that's about it in terms of what I want to hand out. Go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, Jeff brings up a great point, and it was the trade of the week too, around this same
Mm-hmm.
time. Pull up place, and go back about
Mm-hmm.
6 months. And
Yes, that's
so
right. We
those
did.
for you, yeah, those of you guys who are not like short-term traders, look how beautiful this thing
I
was. I
think it
mean,
was right in here, if I
yep,
recall.
yep, it
September,
probably was.
maybe?
It could have been there, or it could have been in November.
Or
I
could have
don't
been back here.
know. I don't know how far. He said many
Somebody
moons
knows.
ago, but yeah,
Many
but
months ago.
but anyway, yeah. Look at some of the moves that you can get out of these things. If you are like an investor, just looking for companies that have great
Yeah.
revenue that may have been beaten up a little bit. So,
I think it was back early, way early in the COVID
and now
thing.
it's trading at 69.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh man,
Crazy.
crazy.
Anyway. Somebody else asked, okay, so I'm going to remember to give the scan out and the price alerts. All right, so let's first do that before I forget. And we use the chat window for this, guys. Revenue growth fishing. Okay, and then my price alerts. Not too many, but just the idea, the concept behind what we're looking for. We'll share these. Copy. All right. So hopefully we kind of hammered that change in philosophy and kind of what we're looking for based on what the market's given us or not giving us in certain instances. And going forward, like I said, we might be looking for something a little bit more like that. All right, so now we're at the segment here where we can go. Yeah, Henry, it's in the chat window. It's in the chat. Nothing came through the chat window. Do you see it in the chat window?
Let me see.
It's not in the questions window, guys. It's a different window on the GoToWebinar.
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, there should be 2 items in there. Look for a little triangle that says chat next to it. If not, everybody's telling us that it's not coming through.
Huh. I see it. That's weird. I wonder if there's some sort of setting. Did anybody get it? Okay, James
James
sees
sees
it.
it. Okay, I
I
can't
can't
see
see
it in the
the
chat
chat
window.
window.
I wonder if I'm able to post publicly in the send to all. I'll do that. I'll send to all in the questions and see if that helps.
I may have to,
Um,
yeah. Oh, look, somebody did that for you. Oh, is that you?
that was
Okay,
me.
never
That was
mind.
me. Yeah, that was the price
You're
alerts.
fast.
And I already did. Oh, you know what? Revenue growth fishing. Okay, I see what I did. I didn't post the link. I just posted the revenue growth. My bad. User error.
Oh,
Andy, it's user
you're
error, isn't it? I posted
wait,
the title.
why would you
I
be
posted
posting
the
price
title, but
alerts?
never the
Oh,
clouds.
okay. I was looking at the price alerts link.
I posted the
Okay.
title, but never the clouds. Let's do that again,
Oh,
guys. Thank
okay.
you. Thank you, guys.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the price alerts cloud link.
And I forgot to send the cloud link on. There we go. It should be good to go now, guys. All right. See, crowdsourcing always wins.
Yep.
All right, guys. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and I'm going to quickly go through the sector scan. It'll just take me a minute. I'll stop on anything I like. But as I'm doing that, we'll finish the webinar by any dozen or so individual names that you would like to look at, and then we'll bring Scott in. That PLCE at the moment doesn't look that great. It looks under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
All
By
right.
the way,
Yeah.
somebody mentioned AMD, so you might
Yeah. I
earlier.
think I saw
I
something about
answered him,
that.
yeah. But
What about it?
well, I
Another one.
told him. He asked about, what do we think about it, and my first concern
Neutral.
was it's not following. It's underperforming the SMHs by a wide margin, and so that that's my first skepticism about the thing. But it is sitting on that 200-day moving average, but below the 20-day moving average, I think it probably, you'd be in trouble. Then you're going for a gap fill down there, and things could get ugly. So for me
Yeah.
personally, yeah, 79 would probably be my drop dead, out on that. But
These moving averages are going to kind of give you a corner to paint
mm-hmm,
yourself in and see how it resolves from there.
mm-hmm, yep.
All right, so I'll quickly go through and see if anything catches my eye here. Again, the gold miners were strong today, but they're just kind of channeling right into the 50-day. You don't buy that. Gold miners again. Silver, same thing. Home builders, wow. We talked about them, the strength of home builders last week. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
that. And boy, I almost wish we maybe picked one for a trade of the week, but
Oh man.
yeah, very strong, very, very strong home builders. I don't know if you chase it now, but it was looking like it wanted to do that last week. Oil's really setting itself up for something. If the oil commodity USO breaks that 50-day moving average, and look how many times it has attempted to close below the 50 and has been kicked back into play. So it's telling us if it loses this 50, that's a lot of open space there.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at the treasuries, drew that line already. I think that's going to be a strong pivot line for the treasuries. If they get back above that, then interest rates won't be so much in the headlines. Tail not giving us much. Again, the commercial real estate and home builders defying, just incredible. And that the IYR defies me. I can understand how we have empty office buildings and commercial real estate doing so well with retail offices closing. We went through all those. Healthcare is kind of consolidating sideways. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Looks rather bullish in XLV. I'll say that as well. And we're getting to the bottom of the barrel today. There's our banks are just kind of stuck in the mud there. That's why I kind of said a moment ago, I kind of wish we went with home builders, but we went with banks. Never know. Each day is a new piece of the puzzle. Energy looks like it's really under pressure. I'm seeing a lot of pressure there in energy for whatever reason, rolling over, and the price can't get above that. All right, so there's technology, semiconductors. We looked at that. All right, let's finish off the last segment here and look at a few of the stocks that you want to look at. We'll give you the unvarnished truth, and we'll bring Scott in after a dozen or so for any announcements. Do we have any charts? Anybody? Oh, JPM, starting with Randall. You got it. All right, Morgan. Kind of looking like our banks and our financials, but definitely giving you a very tight bogey, tight range from which to kind of keep an eye on. Could go either way from here. Let's hope they go higher for the sake of the RF trade. That's for sure. WEC, nice consolidation. I think who said that? Somebody showed me this earlier today. I remember this chart because it just had a really nice push, closed above the 200, reclaimed it, definitively planted its flag above the 200-day moving average with all these closings, and now you've got the fast momentum line starting to come up and push it. That looks like it has potential. Not bad. APPS. What is the second software publishers? It's looking good because it's above the moving averages. It's just got a lot of range it's got to clear here still, unless we kind of look at it in that respect. I would see that's probably what I'm looking at.
That's some
It
pretty
doesn't look
violent
bad.
move. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's very
Yeah.
violent, very violent range. There's probably a big ATR on that thing recently.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? AMAT for Dave. AMAT is looking like the semis should look, and I didn't even really realize any of the semiconductor shortage that kind of snuck up on us, I guess, globally, huh?
Yeah,
I've been
it's
hearing a lot about that.
Pretty crazy right
I'm
now.
late to the party, I know, but there you go. So this looks a lot like the S&Ps. It just had a nice push. Don't want to be buying up here. Just want to wait and see what the consolidation brings. But no reason to be short that. SKLZ
Skittles.
Skills. Well, Skills is a little under pressure here. So when I see, is this a new issue too? It is, isn't it? So when the moving averages show it under pressure, the only thing you can do next is to look left. And when we look left, we see the new issue. There's day one of trading. And that's the, I'm going to draw a line right there, just looking through all those candles. That seems like a pretty important pivot line in skills here. So 1792, you don't really want to break that, but at some point you're going to want to get these candles back above these moving averages. And what I was saying earlier, you want to get this thing to change lanes. You want to get this thing in the next lane, in the next lane. So it's a process.
I will say this, a lot of
Mhm.
times those new issues, for whatever reason, they do feel like taking out, the low, see if they can
Just to see
shake the
what
trees,
happens right
of the
there.
people who
Mhm.
may have got in on the IPO, or, just to test their fortitude. So,
A test of
anyway,
fortitude is really what
yeah.
it is. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so keep a close watch for the possibility of that happening. And it could happen soon, but the key is how does it reverse? APPS, we did that one already. MS, Morgan Stanley, defending the 50-day moving average as it has shown to do in the past, but it's still got some work to do. And again, it's part of those financials. So if we see a headline in the financials, that probably could benefit for sure. All right, two more, then we'll bring in Scott, HST and then SQ. HST to start. It's holding up, higher lows, doing the best it can. So I think you just gonna want to hold that 1685 level is what you're gonna want to hold on to. And then lastly, Square. Square, just chopping back and forth in a grind. Yeah, I mean it's below its 50-day moving average. So I mean I'm just neutral on this one. The rising 200-day moving average will have something to say about it, but it needs to get out of this tangled snare here. All right, well, let's bring up the slideshow, and I'm all talked out unless you want to add anything else, Andy. Bring in Scott.
No, I'm good.
All right, hello, Scott.
Hey, thanks, guys. A couple items on the way out. We do have a new ebook. It's got our director of software development, Dave Mabe's favorite strategy indicators. Go ahead and grab that by going to tradeIdeas.com/strategy. Getting that free download, check it out. It's got some cloud links in there you can import into your layouts. Got a podcast. Go ahead and search for the Trade Ideas podcast wherever you listen to your fine pods. Add us as a subscription, and you'll be ready to pick up the next one as soon as it comes out. Also, check out the archive. You can use the code OPPORTUNITY to save 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. You can go ahead and use that to do an upgrade too if you decide you want to upgrade from standard to premium. Save you some cash doing that. And you can find Steve Gomez on Twitter at TISteveG. You can also find us at Trade Ideas, QuantBot, and some other handles. Facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro is the Facebook page to like and share everything with all your friends. And any questions, email us info@trade-ideas.com. It goes to our help desk, gets you the support that you need as quickly as possible. And we're going to have this recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. You get an email reminder from GoToWebinar with a link to the playlist where you can find it. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone.
All right, see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you on Thursday.